Hi, I'm Jim, and this is Call to Battle. Now, I have an interesting one. I was listening to this show, and they talked about the wealth gap. And we hear a lot about this. What causes a gap between the wealthy and the poor? What is the cause? And usually, if you ask people, the answer is going to be education. Well, surprisingly enough, it's not. Now, there's a writer named Melissa Kearney, actually a liberal economist, who wrote a book on what the two-parent privilege. And she said, no, there's many factors, but the main factor for this wealth gap is a two-parent household. That kids raised in a one-parent household are at a huge disadvantage, and which causes this wealth gap. A child from a two-parent household has a much better chance of doing better financially. Now, one of the quotes here, I have to break up into two things, is having two parents who are married to each other, Kearney argues, provides offspring with economic and social advantages. By joining their particular strength, a married couple can give their progeny more than the sum of their parts. She argues for policy changes that would scale up community-based programs that strengthen and increase economic support for low-income families and for a broader cultural push to recognize that when it comes to raising children, no other arrangement works quite as well as matrimony. Isn't that amazing? Once again, what is needed is a two-family household. As we continue to be in a world that likes to downplay marriage and the importance of it, we keep finding information that tells us that mom and dad are one of the biggest factors for a healthy child. I mean, we've seen the stats that when a child grows up in which a one-parent family with just mom, that all the negative stats increase, like the child becoming an alcoholic, using drugs, dropping out of college, ending up in prison, all raise dramatically when dad is not present. That when there's a two-parent household, the child does so much better, even in finances. Even getting out of poverty. Now, they said this woman wrote that this is true for the whole world, not just the United States, the whole world. When there's two parents, the child does much better and actually can get more out of that poverty. And part of it is the encouragement they get from mom and dad. How important that is. They are given that push. They see it in their mom and dad. They'll see their mom and dad working hard and to provide for the family and successfully provide for a family. A lot of times in single family, mom's really not doing it or struggling to do it, and then she needs dad to be the father to be sending money, and they're just not seeing it. I mean, a lot of these kids growing up in a single parent just never see any financial success, or one that it seems like they're always getting by. But when mom and dad are there, it's amazing the difference that happens. And also it's encouraging the child to stay on a good road, showing them and walking with them to show them to be financially responsible and how to succeed. It really comes down to encouragement with the kids too. I mean, I remember my three boys. I mean, we all think education is the most important thing. Now, education is important if we're not just talking about college, because some people say, well, you have to go to college. I'm like, no, it doesn't have to be college. Now, I have a bachelor's degree and I have a master's degree, but I do not think college is the be-all and the end-all. It's amazing how much money these kids can make in trades. I mean, but the thing is to encourage them, to support them, to help them see who they are and what they can become. That's the important part. My oldest son, smart kid, but hated school. I mean, he hated school. And there was no way I was sending him to college because I knew it would be a waste of my money and a waste of his time. Well, my son became an entrepreneur because we actually kept encouraging and helping him and showing him what he could do and how to do it. And he would come to us for advice, for pointers. I mean, I was a church planter, so I sort of understand the entrepreneurial aspect. My wife is actually very successful in her field as an engineer, and so we can help guide them and show them how to do things, how to accomplish things. But helping to understand who they are, because we knew our oldest son, college wasn't it for him. And it took him a while to find his way, but he found it. My middle son and my youngest son went the college route. It's interesting. My middle son got a degree in marketing, but today He's a high school teacher, teaches economics. But not only that, he has 3 side jobs. He also coaches. He actually has a side gig he does, and he actually is the music leader in our church. And that's a paid position. He has 4 paying jobs, my son. One goes, his teaching one, actually, which wasn't an education major, but now he had to get that certification. But, that's what he did. But we encouraged him along that route. Our youngest son was a computer guru at like 8 years old. And when he wanted to go to college, I was trying to encourage him to go the computer route. But he wasn't interested. He said, "Dad, I do that for fun. I don't want to do that for a living." I said, "Okay." No, I backed off, but I was helping him find his way. So he has a bachelor's degree in theology. Know what he does today? He does computer work at a seminary. He combined his computers and his theology together, and he works at a seminary doing their computer work, but he also takes his courses, and he's working towards his master's in theology. He tied it together. What we did as parents is my wife would work on them with helping them find their skills, their abilities, sort of the personality to show how were they designed, how were they made for success, And then I would work on their spiritual gifts and also help guide them into who looked like God had designed them to be. So just encouragement, and they're seeing it in mom and dad, and we gave it to them. We also stayed on top of them for their schooling. My oldest son, as I said, he barely got through school. Smart kid, he just hated school. But we stayed on top of him, made sure he was doing what he needed to do. Our second son was good at school, and it was easier with him. We did some homeschooling with him. He had Christian school homeschooling. Then his high school years, he went to a public school, got through, went to college, had good enough grades to get into college and actually get accepted to almost every college he applied to. Our youngest son was homeschooled, and when he went to college, I believe he graduated magna cum laude, just smart. School came easy to him. He was just good at it. But education, we're importance of learning how to study, learning responsibility. We also were teaching them work ethic. That was very important. We taught our sons work ethic, and we spent a lot of time on that. When mom and dad are there to help them work on this, it benefits the kids so big. Also, the church is a huge thing. Church is important. Now, people say, well, Christians get divorced at the same rate as non-Christians. That is not true. What is true is people who say they are Christians are getting divorced at the same rate as non-Christians. But if you go deeper, you find that those who are practicing their faith, those who are like church every week, those who believe in the teachings of the Bible, of Jesus Christ, they're getting divorced at a much less rate than the rest of the world. They're applying what they're learning. So you go to a church, you'll learn how to have a strong marriage, how to work through your issues, how to work through your problems, how to be there for your children. I tell you, it's not working in the world. We find more and more information. Doing things actually God's way blesses the children and the parents. Husbands and wives, men and women, they're being blessed when they do it God's way. We keep trying to downplay this, and we keep learning that the world is wrong and God is right. So if you want to give your kids a chance, mom and dad staying married in the household is helping the kids actually get rid of that wage gap that exists between the poor and the wealthy. They're getting out of the poor and working towards the wealthy. So that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And my wife and I have been able to work through that gap, and I guess you would put us on the wealthy side now. But I tell you something, we stayed married. Our parents stayed married. My parents did. Her parents did. They stayed married. And it's a huge blessing. And now we have this liberal economist who's saying, you want to help with this wage gap? Mom and dad should stay in the house. Well, that's what I got you for this week. Hope you're having a great week, and I will talk to you soon. God bless.